Significant impacts are coming. In fact, multiple storms are going to cause those here over parts of the central and eastern United States, with heavy rain, flooding, and strong winds being the impacts out of many of them. Breakdown of what I know and what remains uncertain is coming up in this video, so stick around for everything and all the details. Alright, I want to start off here with a look at the high and low pressure areas. The reds are going to indicate your high pressures. Of course, the yellows indicating a stronger high pressure system. Blues and whites kind of indicating some of the lower pressure areas. And we're going to have one exiting New Mexico, moving into the southern plains here. And then really we're going to see this continue to progress. This is as we make our way late week and towards the weekend time frame. We're also going to see a little piece of energy as we make our way into our Saturday, kind of exiting the north central plains and combining with this to form a little bit of a weaker trough here over the plains, bringing a little bit of some, shower coverage here. Really, that's going to be the result of this over parts in the Midwest as well as parts of the South Central. We're going to see this really combine with some energy over the Gulf of Mexico, and that's when things are going to turn a little bit more significant here over the southeastern United States. And eventually we could see this become a nor'easter as it kind of rides around some of the warmer high pressure systems that are to the north. So this is really overall the pattern we're seeing, and you can see some of those whites indicating the strengthening of that low pressure system there over the southeastern United States by the time we head towards our Sunday and our Monday. So let's look at the moisture levels in the big picture here. You can see we've got this front. Yep, this is that low pressure system that brought the significant tornadoes here to parts of Tennessee and Kentucky. That front is still draped here, and it stretches all the way back down into the Caribbean. And believe it or not, some of that goes all the way back into parts of eastern Mexico, and that kind of helps to increase our southerly flow here and really bring some of that moisture on up for the plains with this next system here. As we make our way into our Friday afternoon, you can see some of that, that moisture making its way through parts of, say, Texas, Oklahoma, on up through Missouri, Iowa, into parts of Minnesota as well as Wisconsin. That's where our little front will set up in this case. We'll have some drier air pushing on in behind that over the plains, but we've got all these purples, these even pinkish colors here over parts of the Gulf and Caribbean. That's just ripe for moisture there, and we've got plenty of moisture to make its way on off towards the north and east, helping to develop a low pressure system somewhere over the southeastern U.S. by that point. That's what will be interesting. We'll get into the timing here in just a second, but don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel and you like the content. Now here we go as we make our way, just over the course of the next 12 hours from when I'm filming this, as we make our way into our Thursday. We've got some snowfall over parts of southern Colorado and northern New Mexico, some rainfall pushing out over the high plains and western Texas, the Oklahoma Panhandle as well. Also notice again there's that moisture draped over the Gulf of Mexico that's eventually going to come into play here later down the road with that old cold front here that's well off the east coast overall. Now here we go, making our way towards our afternoon here. This is on our Thursday afternoon. Some snowfall, maybe some light ice accumulation as well in parts of eastern Colorado. Not much to come out of that though, and you can see that snow really just fades into the rain here. Maybe a brief shot of some snow to places like Dodge City, Kansas, back through the panhandle of Oklahoma into north central panhandle of Texas. Otherwise everybody just seeing some rain, maybe some thunderstorms on the southern end in Texas. Nothing really severe out of that though. Eventually we start to see this little band of some light rainfall and light snowfall in parts of northern Minnesota as well as the upper peninsula of Michigan at the same time as this system is over the south central plains on our Friday, and eventually they kind of combine into one little piece of energy here, and again a weaker one at that, with a small stripe of some snowfall maybe going here over parts of the eastern Dakotas, central Minnesota, as well as Wisconsin, as again a little bit of a low pressure system kind of tries to form out of those two systems combined. Some showers down over the south central, the Arklatex region as well. And then also notice by this point we begin to see a low pressure area develop over the northeastern Gulf of Mexico, and that's eventually going to be able to make its way on off towards the northeast as well, as it kind of gets pushed and pulled in by those systems there. So there you go. Here we make our way. Let's turn on actually some of the reflectivity mode so you can see where the rain and precip is going to be the heaviest. Here we go. This is as we make our way into our Saturday afternoon. We've got rainfall and heavy rainfall at that over parts of Florida and southern Alabama and Georgia. Some scattered precip over the Midwest as well as the north central U.S. from that front. But the big picture really starts to, the big story here becomes this subtropical entity here. Could this become subtropical storm Vince? Yes. Of course you can still see a tropical system outside of hurricane season, but we're just looking at a weird entity here, and really we don't even need to act like this is a tropical storm. We just need to treat this as a very heavy rainmaker, a gusty wind maker that's going to make its way into the southeastern U.S. by the time we make our way Saturday and into Sunday. So, we could see some tropical storm force wind gusts in some parts of the southeast, but it really depends on where this low is. Could it be centered over here, like portions of Atlanta? Yes. Could this be off the southeast coast, barely bringing impacts right along the coastline? Yes. So we need to kind of track and see exactly where those impacts occur. But the further inland we see this, the more people, of course, will see the impacts, and we'll see if this could make its way on up the east coast. But even if it did turn into a quote-unquote nor'easter, it looks like it would mainly just be bringing rain impacts for most people. Unfortunately, not many people looking at snowfall yet, so you'll have to wait till Christmas week to see if we could get some snowfall then to give you a white Christmas. But anyway, we've got, again, those areas of spin exiting the Rockies. You can see the one exiting the north-central U.S. here. By the time we make our way, this is into our, our Saturday morning. We've got kind of this trough digging on down over the central United States. A trough is basically just an area where we're seeing, a little bit of a dip in the jet stream and some low pressure areas along that. Pretty much two low pressure centers there, but you can kind of see how they combine into that one over the Midwest here throughout the weekend. That's what I was pointing out just a minute ago. But notice we're also seeing this area of some purple, some blues trying to spin up here into parts of, the Florida Panhandle right offshore there. Florida looks like it could get a pretty decent hit out of this with some very heavy rain. As the flooding potential, we could be seeing, the potential for maybe even some severe weather there into parts of the eastern coast especially, depending on how this sets up. But look at how these two systems kind of merge to form one bigger system. And this turns into where we get that northwest flow there from that one coming in from the west. The one on the eastern side brings in that southerly flow. It just turns into kind of a perfect meshing of these two systems. And look at how they combine by the time we make our way towards our early Monday morning. And remember, this is just about 5 days out from now, maybe even less by the time you're watching this. And again, we kind of have to watch where this moves from there as it heads on up the east coast. So right now, it's looking pretty likely that we'll see all of this come together, but it's kind of where and exactly how strong this will be that will determine who sees the worst impacts over the southeast. But it looks like something will be coming through parts of southern Canada to kind of drag this away as it makes its way on off towards the northeast, speeding up hopefully and not causing too many long-term impacts there as it heads in that direction. Now your potential wind gusts with the GFS model here, again you can kind of see that low pressure center over the northeastern Gulf, several hundred miles offshore during our Friday, but you can see some of those reds indicating some wind gusts in the 40 to 50 mile per hour range. Offshore of Florida, some 20, maybe 30 mile per hour gusts already beginning to push on shore by that time. Putting the timestamps back on your screen here so you can see what time this is. This is Sunday pretty much at midnight. It's Saturday night going into our Sunday here. Some wind gusts maybe 45, 50, 55 miles per hour over parts of South Georgia as well as the panhandle of Florida. And again, this is preliminary. We could see this set up off the shore. We could see this set up further inland like this shows a little bit with some 40, 50 mile per hour gusts heading inland in parts of Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina as well on our Sunday morning and into our eventually the afternoon hours as well. But again, this is with a perfect scenario where those low pressures merge, but both models are kind of showing that right now, so that's why we got to keep a very close watch on the way this system transpires and the way everything comes together, because of course there are multiple lows involved. Now in terms of the potential snowfall, two bullseye zones, one of them potentially here over, again, the eastern Dakotas, parts of Minnesota and northern Wisconsin. The other one back here over parts of the southeastern Rockies into the far western plains here, the high plains at that. Some totals here in some of the higher elevations could top a foot, and especially into parts of northeastern New Mexico. I wouldn't go as far to say as 23 inches are possible there northeast of Santa Fe, but maybe some spots closer to 20 inches there. Lower elevations, maybe moving into parts of western Kansas, Oklahoma, those areas maybe an inch or two. And then we could see some minimal totals here. I wouldn't go as far to say it's 10 inches as possible either over parts of Wisconsin. And then with your rainfall totals here, you can see some of that accumulating here over the plains. That's going to be a bullseye zone here over the south central, over parts of Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. Then we also kind of get this area of precipitation again in the southeastern U.S. So we've got some details to kind of pick out with what's going to happen here with these storm systems. But you can overall see some of these totals here. Those yellows really indicating some spots 2+ inches of rain will be possible. Again, in more isolated fashion here over parts of the Texas Panhandle and Oklahoma Panhandle, where it's looking more likely to see some heavier totals anywhere from 2 to 4 inches of rain, even some locally higher amounts. That's going to be over the southeast with some inch to 3-inch totals heading on up towards the northeast as it looks right now. Last thing I want to show you is your overall pattern here with temperature anomalies, warmer than average conditions pretty much over the entire U.S. here to finish off our week. So as we make our way to our Thursday and Friday time frame, yep, you've only got a couple days left in the week. Warmer than average air over the northern and central parts of the United States. Look at this, we go 3 days out from there and we're still looking at the same thing with warmer than average anomalies here over the entirety of the country, maybe excluding a few areas in parts of Florida and Georgia, and we know why that is, right? It's raining and maybe windy at times as well. if we get enough of that northwesterly flow behind that low pressure system that could ride up the east coast, we could get temperatures to maybe drop 5 degrees below average. But this isn't connecting with much out of the plains other than those weaker systems. So overall, high pressure is going to be quick to return with warmer than average air over many parts of the country here as we go towards, this is as we go towards December 20th. So for many of us here, our white Christmas chance is a little bit lower than normal just because of how warm these air masses will be. But if we can get a system to crunch into it there around Christmas time, it could bring some surprise and even holiday travel, impacting snow. So we'll keep a close eye on that. But for now, please hit that subscribe button. Here are the credits, everyone. Have a great day.
One nation weather.